Welcome back to another edition of We Watch Movies 24/7, brought to you here at the Improv of Orlando. Well, we just watched Iron Man 3, curiously spelled T-H-R-E-E, unlike other sequels. Gentlemen, we throw it up to the floor. Did we like it?
Yes, loved it. Boom! I give it a full, all
repulsor beam.
yeah. Well, what I'm trying to say, I give it all extremities. I shoot all of my jets and rockets at the same time. Loved it. Thought it was fantastic.
Loved it. What about you there, Iron Vision?
Meh. Get a lot of mileage out of these, huh? With the comic book things we've been doing and everything. Yeah. I'm gonna go. It was average. The three things I look for in these movies, in the Iron Man movies, it only had one of them. The first one everybody goes to is Robert Downey Jr. And if you're a Robert Downey Jr. fan, this is for you. It's he is at his zenith. That having been said, the other thing is there are no allusions to the Avengers movie coming up, which really was a disappointment. And also, the other thing a lot of people look for is the back and forth banter between him and Gwyneth Paltrow. Very little, if any, of that. So,
but we got the banter between him and the kid.
That's true. Kid is a new bit in here. The kid is great, and also.
How often do we say that? Walk out of a movie and say, "Wow, the kid was great."
Well, you know what's great about the kid is that Robert Downey Jr. gets to say the things you want to say to a kid.
Yes.
He just goes off on this poor kid. That having been said, no. Average movie at best. The people online who say that, well, at least not as bad as Iron Man 2, you don't know what you're talking about. Iron Man 2 is much better than this one. So, yeah, I'm going to give it a meh.
Well, I liked the first two Iron Man movies. I did not love them. I would not put them on my top 5 list. I would probably put them maybe 7, 8, 9-ish in that branch as it is. This one, I would put like the 5 as it is. It's easily the best of the Iron Man series so far to date. I think a lot of that has to do with the inclusion of Shane Black's influence. I am a big Shane Black geek. For those who don't know, he's the screenwriter and director of this movie. He wrote the Lethal Weapon films, all the good ones, The Long Kiss Goodnight, and he is just a master of carnage and wit. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, yes. That movie put him back and put Downey back on the map, which blazed the path for him to be cast in Iron Man. This was very much like a third movie in the sense that, okay, we built him up, let's take him down, let's give him nothing, let's have him run around. I liked it in the second act when he's underground for all intents and purposes and he's just kind of just Tony Stark without all necessarily as high-end resources as it is. And we got to see him being innovative. And there's another interesting point in that I'll come to later. But I definitely give it a positive rating by far, even though the Mandarin took one for the team. We'll get to that later. All right, lay it on us, young man. We're ready.
This was the worst comic book movie in years. Horrible! This thing was abysmal. I am more disappointed in this than I was in Spider-Man 3. There was not one redeeming quality about the entire film from stem to stern. It was the absolute worst piece of dreck put on film by Marvel to date. It was bad. Robert Downey Jr. was not Iron Man in this movie. This was his worst portrayal of Iron Man in any of the 3 films. He completely lost it. Gwyneth Paltrow, I was praying so hard she was going to die. Every time she stepped on stage, I was just waiting. I was just waiting for something to just fly out of somewhere and blow her stupid, misshapen fucking head off. This was the absolute worst film I have been dragged to see.
One example of why you thought it was the worst movie.
Just one?
All you've said. All you've said is you hate it. It's the worst movie. You said nothing about why you.
Robert Downey Jr.'s acting was horrible. He was not written as Iron.
That's not true. That's not. It was
no. You disagree.
It's actually very, very good.
It was
Robert Downey Jr. is brilliant. Gwyneth Paltrow was great. Ben Kingsley was great.
Gwyneth Paltrow was
supporting
horrible.
actors were
Ben
fantastic.
Kingsley underperformed, and I am a huge Ben Kingsley fan. I will watch any. I saw Lucky Number 11 twice.
Okay.
Believe me.
Okay, let me ask this question then. Okay, when you say he didn't act like Tony Stark or Iron Man, what are you basing that off of? Are you basing that off of the previous films, the Avengers, or are you going back to trying to be a little more hearkening to the original comic book interpretation?
You know what?
Because I would argue to say the comic book interpretation, Robert Downey Jr. was never Tony Stark from the comics. He was Doctor Strange before he got into an accident.
I can honestly
That's
say...
a very geeky reference.
I can honestly say a little bit of both. I don't think he portrayed either of them. I don't know what the hell they were trying to write him as in this movie, but I can say this. In Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, and the Avengers, You had this very smart, very savvy, very capable guy. Clearly flawed, clearly fighting his own demons, but when it came down to it, he stepped in, he was brilliant. He did what needed to be done. And even through his damage, he found a way to work through it. In this movie,
You just described the plot of Iron Man 3.
I saw none of that, okay? I'm trying to do this without throwing in any spoilers, but I can say this.
No, that's fine.
He screwed up all of the Iron Man related stuff. He screwed up all the tech stuff. The entire movie is based on him not being able to invent things that work. Honestly, think about it. Every single plot twist in the movie was about him screwing up something technological on his own part and then just being like, whoops, I should have seen that one coming. He did that 4 different times in this movie, according to my count. All right? He was easily defeated. He took types of risks that Iron Man would never take. And yes, Iron Man jumps in and takes a lot of dumb risks. Tony Stark, throughout Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, and the Avengers.
I would throw this out. Okay, this was post-Avengers, post-traumatic stress Iron Man. And obviously they're using these anxiety attacks almost as, all right, we can't really do Demon in the Bottle has alcoholism for the comics. This is about as close as we're going to get to giving him some kind of a feat of clay. So
See, I disagree because he already went through the PTSD thing in the first movie. Him dealing with his capture
But
and being...
but in Avengers,
he already went through that.
But in Avengers, possible spoiler if you haven't seen Avengers, it's a big deal about it. He decides, I'm going to die here. I'm going to take this nuke into the wormhole, and I'm not coming back. He was thoroughly convinced of that.
Yeah.
And when he wakes up, yeah, he has that moment of, oh my God, I can't believe I did that.
Oh my God, the shawarma is delicious.
Exactly,
Yeah, we all saw it. We
Yes.
know. But what I'm saying is that, here's the thing. This level of PTSD, or what he went through in the Avengers and everything, if they wanted to write that into this as a way of changing his character, making him more serious, making him more driven, making him more affected by it, there was a ton of ways they could have done it. Okay, I get it. He has trouble sleeping. Ooh. All right?
Okay.
He's tinkering around a lot.
Yeah.
Ooh. These things are impacting me.
Because he doesn't sleep.
Ooh.
I mean,
Yeah, I just said
Sleep.
that.
Yeah,
and
but he doesn't sleep at all.
and now his world has been destroyed because he's gone face to face with gods and aliens and things that shake his foundations.
Yeah, but the problem is that in the way that they make his character react to this, okay, yeah, I understand. He, settled on, I'm going to die. All right, I flew this thing I was in space, and gravity, which doesn't exist there, magically pulled me back to Earth. All right, cool. We all get that, okay? But even still, I don't see how what they did to his character, I don't see how that was reflected in this movie. I think they did such a horrible job showing him dealing with the fallout from that. I think they did a horrible job trying to show in his character what this made him realize in himself, because none of it was related to his actual life. It was made up problems just for this
how
movie.
can you say that? Because the big factor, the big thing that changed everything was the fact, and he even does a little speech about it, is Gwyneth Paltrow or Pepper Potts, that now they have this serious relationship, and everything he's doing, whether it comes to the armor and everything else, is focused around his relationship with her. Because she's the, quote, number one thing, this is in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling anything, this is the number one thing in his life, this is the thing he has to protect.
I would even say that might not even be correct. But the interpretation I got from it was, you are an important thing, but there's a critical point in the movie where he refers to himself as a mechanic. He doesn't say, I'm a billionaire, I'm the coolest motherfucker you ever see in your life, I'm a superhero, I'm an industrialist, I'm a scientist, I'm a nanotechnologist. He says, I'm a mechanic.
Billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
Yeah, he doesn't. He goes to that, and that, at his core, is what he figures out what he is, and that's what I love about the movie, because it's almost about futuristic nanotechnology, which you could say is the cutting edge technology. And here's a guy who grasps it, but for his own delight, he'd rather put on welding goggles and gloves and listen to AC/DC and make these giant suits of armor and then throw them away. As an artist, because he's like, okay, that's done, what's next? All right, and he takes it around for a spin, oh, that's cool, but I got more ideas and more improvements to it, and that's what I took away from it.
Do we want to say anything about Don Cheadle, who I really liked in this?
Mm-hmm.
Don Cheadle was the Captain America of this movie. He really was.
Well, it made me ask, in this situation, where was Captain America? I could have gone with a throwaway line explaining what S.H.I.E.L.D. and what Captain America were doing during
Yeah,
the
that was
attacks.
highly noticeable that with all this stuff going around, that nobody, and Don Cheadle saying, this is early in the movie, this isn't going to spoil anything, like, oh, this isn't a superhero problem, this is an American government problem. Well, if it's an American government problem, then Nick Fury should be standing right next to it,
Right.
not Don Cheadle.
And that just goes to the importance of how this franchise set up the Avengers road. For it to totally abandon it, abandon the Avengers connections, and we were talking about this earlier, apparently the reason why is that Disney is in contract negotiations with Robert Downey Jr. because his contract's up. So I think that's pretty obvious why there are no allusions to the Avengers movies going forward.
I think that I'd have to disagree. I don't think they're worried about that at the time. You know, when they make these movies, that's really all about. All right, let's just get this thing in the can, then we'll worry about it there. All right, but Will,
Hey.
talk to me about Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh, okay. I think we can all agree, except for maybe Mark, who doesn't agree with anyone and hates pretty much everything in the world.
I love everything. I hate when people destroy the things I love.
Gwyneth Paltrow is not a thing.
It's not yours. Iron Man is not yours.
Iron Man is all of ours.
It's a
We all
story.
own a piece of it.
It's just a story, and the way they told it, I thought was brilliant. It was fun. It had a lot of energy. The acting was fantastic.
Gwyneth Paltrow, though.
Gwyneth Paltrow is the true star. Actually, her abs are the true star of this movie. I don't know what
Gwyneth
she's
Paltrow
doing.
kicks some butt.
She's amazing.
Her character is wildly deviated from. Well, I will say that at the beginning she started out pretty much as Pepper Potts did in the comics as it is. Although in the comics she actually ends up marrying Happy Hogan, and she's always pining for him as it is. But I do like the cinematic take they've taken on them. I think usually the superhero romances only last like one movie, and I honestly think in all three movies they've had a pretty good and pretty natural, given the circumstances, evolution in their relationship.
I like their relationship.
I do.
I like to see them on screen together. They have great chemistry. Robert Downey Jr. and Gwyneth Paltrow's banter is always quick and fun, and I believe the relationship. I really do.
So did I. I wish her alteration at the end had left the door open to possibly be permanent.
Well, she is Rescue in the comic books. That's that would have been. I think there were allusions to it.
If that
but
had
they
to
really
do
didn't
if that had
it.
to do with Warren Ellis's storyline, I did not read it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, she is Rescue in the comic books, but Rescue is basically just a Iron Man suit that can send out like a powerful force field and uses nanotechnology to heal people. Like it's real. I don't even think she has any offensive capability. She sort of just jumps in front of.
They've made her an
bullets a
invisible
bunch of
woman
times.
in armor.
Worse.
Okay, all right, good enough.
But I'll tell you, there were a lot of fans who were hoping to see that in this film, and they did. While they do, it's in the trailer. They do put the armor on her at one point. It just doesn't come to fruition. It would have been nice to see it happen, and who knows? Maybe we'll see it again in Avengers 2 or whatever.
Yeah, I will agree with what you said earlier, though. I really thought I didn't quite buy Cheadle in the last movie. I really thought he'd been miscast. Not that I thought his predecessor was all that great either. But in this one, he actually acted like a military guy.
Exactly.
In the previous two movies, he never really, even for the Air Force, he seemed really lackadaisical. I mean, it just was like, oh, hey, Tony, what's up? But in this movie, he actually, the military switch in him got flipped, and I believed it, even if he was used as a comedic foil throughout most of the second act. All right, let's talk about the geeky Easter eggs as best that we can. We're trying not to be a spoiler because it is. Let's talk a little bit about the elephant in the room. All right. Do we like what happened, this interpretation of the Mandarin?
Okay, without spoiling it, for Iron Man fans, there's going to be a major change about midway through, and this is going to really separate a lot of people. This could be the next Marvel Civil War. Now, that having been said, I've never been a huge Mandarin fan. I've always thought that Iron Man should be posed against Doctor Doom, who was like exactly like him, except he's evil. The arrogance and everything else. All this juxtaposition between old world money, Doctor Doom, versus new world money, Tony Stark.
See, it's curious. I feel that way about the Mandarin. To me, the Mandarin in the comics is the divine right of king. Even unlike Doom, the Mandarin is Chinese royalty.
Right.
And I often feel like I'm just born better, so I should be better. Whereas Iron Man is always the sort of the allegory of the West and capitalism, the self-made entrepreneurship, and all that. So it's that old world.
But
old
also in
world.
the comic books with the Mandarin and Iron Man, you're dealing with that magic verse
Yes.
technology
Technology.
thing, and then it gets retconned into more futury technology
Which
versus technology,
Alien technology.
alien
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
technology.